Welcome to Everyday Economics, the podcast that helps you learn about the economic world happening around you every day. I'm your host, Chris Krug, publisher of the Center Square. Everyday Economics is brought to you by the Center Square. To support Everyday Economics, please make a tax-deductible charitable contribution by clicking the link in the show description. We are recording this episode on Friday, January 31st, 2025. And joining me, as always, my friend and colleague, Dr. Orphe Divounguy, fresh back from Las Vegas. Dr. O, Sin City, treat you all right? You come home with just bags of cash?
I'm in Vegas a lot, by the way, and I don't know whether I enjoy it or not. You know, it's a kind of weird relationship I got with Las Vegas. No, I went for work. I was actually at the National Multifamily Housing Council annual meeting, which was an absolute blast. Their members are so clever, so smart. And I finished. I did a thing on the stage there with the authors of Freakonomics, and we had a blast talking about big ideas, talking about innovation, and maybe some of the incentives that prevent further innovation. We should do another podcast on that, maybe.
And I've always been a fan of Freakonomics, and I think the way that they, the way that they sort of take things inside out, almost very Malcolm Gladwell like, that they're willing to look at sort of the why things are, very enterprising thinking around economics.
They're extremely good storytellers, right? Like
agreed.
Like telling it, sharing a very important concept by telling a beautiful story, and they did that amazingly well. And then I got to moderate a conversation on stage yesterday. It was a lot of fun. We should do an episode in the context of maybe even AI, right? The DeepSeek saga this past week. Do we innovate or do we just adapt
or imitate?
Yeah. Replicate, adapt existing technologies. Do we invest in high risk, high reward projects, or do we just prioritize incremental advances in science?
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun one. So we should do that. Anyway, week ahead, what do we have coming up? We have construction spending. So I think first of all, we're going to have new home sales. No, we missed new home sales this week. Sorry,
we got unemployment's the big headline that's coming up this week.
Very importantly, it's the ISM. What I was thinking about, the ISM manufacturing survey.
Yeah.
And construction spending on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get the JOLTS report for December. So we're going to see whether or not job openings have been had increased a little bit in November. And we're going to see whether or not we're seeing this, the job openings increasing. We're seeing the higher rate. Is the hiring rate going to increase from the lows that we saw, that we had been in, right, where the labor market had been basically kind of frozen, low hiring rates, low layoff rate, lower job-to-job mobility. We're gonna check that out and see whether or not. And of course, this is still a look in the rearview mirror because the JOLTS is going to report for December, right? Then we'll also have, of course, the ISM services index. By the way, services was in expansion territory. Now the ISM manufacturing, which basically had been in a contraction for, I want to say 2 years now, maybe even a little bit longer. Could the ISM manufacturing survey show an expansion in manufacturing activity, right? I think that's going to be something. The reason I say that is because the big question remains: is the U.S. economy cooling?
Mm-hmm.
Is inflation likely to continue to ease, or is the U.S. economy likely to reaccelerate in 2025 with inflation moving higher rather than lower, right?
Yes.
And I think
Do you have an early feeling either way? I mean, do you have a is
I,
can you, I mean, is there anything that you can see in the market that would lead you to tip this way or the other?
well, I mean, look, the I just saw this note from Apollo's chief economist, uh, and he's been very much in the direction of a reaccelerating
Mm-hmm.
U.S. economy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in his note, he talks about high stock prices. Of course, high stock prices, high home prices, or create somewhat of a wealth effect. If you feel wealthier, you go out and spend. I just did another podcast with a friend of mine uh, over uh, over at Altos Research, housing
Mm-hmm.
expert, and we talked about the fact that households spend 5 to 8 cents of every additional dollar of housing wealth. And so, if you have if you have increases in home equity and you have increases in your financial wealth due to higher stock prices, then you have this wealth effect that shows up in the economy. You're richer. You go out and you go out and spend a little bit more. You're not as nervous about spending your dollars. And if consumer spending increases, accelerates, then U.S. economic growth, at least on the demand side, aggregate demand will accelerate. And so, uh, so that's what he cites. He talks about strong tailwinds coming to growth from all the uh, tech capex spending, the defense spending, the spending driven by the CHIPS Act, the IRA, and the Infrastructure Act. And so all the government spending added to higher increases in wealth for households could actually cause the demand side of the economy to heat up
Mm-hmm.
again in 2025. You look at the labor market, well, it's been frozen,
Yes.
but jobless claims have been edging lower. And with jobless claims edging lower, you start to think, well, maybe actually firms are starting to hire again and feel good about hiring workers. And so while that's good for people that had been unemployed for a while, it means that the economy could get to a point where we could get tight again, right? And we could get some price growth, stronger price growth as a
Mm-hmm.
result. So so that's what he talks about. What do I say? I say it's all going to depend on where productivity is headed. If we have strong productivity growth, then I think we're okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? If the supply side can continue to keep up with demand, with aggregate demand, then I think we're okay. If not, then we're gonna have some price pressures, right? Of course, how does the supply side of the economy keep up? Well, we need workers. We need stronger productivity growth, but we also need an increase in the labor force, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need workers. And so, in order for potential GDP to be high enough relative to nominal GDP, right? By the way, the difference is inflation. We need strong potential GDP. We need an improvement. And that comes from population growth, labor force growth, productivity growth. And
Mm-hmm.
so how do we maintain that this strong supply side, a strong supply side? A deregulation agenda is a good one. We definitely don't want to we definitely want to stay away from deporting workers in the construction side of the economy. For example, we know we have a lot of workers that come into this country from abroad, and so we might want to stay away from that. So there's a deregulation agenda that maybe needs to be pushed forward, but at the same time, we got to be cautious not to get rid of a substantial size part of our labor force through what I would call you know um, policies, the policy agenda maybe in DC. So again, we're going to have to be very careful about what we do going forward because the U.S. economy, uh, looks to me pretty strong on the demand side, and the supply side needs to continue to keep up in order for us to see inflation continue to move in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate your thoughts as always. We'll call it good there. Don't forget to take a look at Dr. Orphe Divounguy's column every Monday at the Center Square. It's the week ahead. For Orphe, this has been Chris Krug. Subscribe to Everyday Economics wherever you get your podcasts and listen to us each week on the Center Square Radio Hour.